The headlines are swirling, the whispers are louder than ever, and the question on everyone's mind today is simple. Has Alberta reached the breaking point? Because what's unfolding right now could reshape not just the future of Canada, but the entire North American energy map. Think about it. Alberta sits at the heart of Canada's energy supply. The pipelines stretching across this country are not just steel buried in the ground. They are the veins pumping life into the national economy. Billions in trade, thousands of jobs, and the daily fuel that keeps homes warm, cars moving, and industries running, all of it tied directly to Alberta's pipelines. And yet, what we're hearing suggests Alberta might be willing to do the unthinkable. The chatter out of Edmonton, out of Premier Danielle Smith's inner circle, is that she could be ready to take a step no province has dared before, using pipelines as a weapon in her standoff with Ottawa. Now let's pause for a second. This isn't just about oil or gas. This is about power. Pure political power. Prime Minister Mark Carney came into office promising balance, promising to be the man who could calm the storm between Ottawa and the West. But if Alberta truly closes the taps, even partially, what happens to that promise? What happens to his authority? And more importantly, what happens to the rest of the country? Because here's the truth, Ottawa depends on Alberta. It's an uncomfortable reality for some in the capital, but it's undeniable. The federal government can draft all the policies it wants. It can lecture about green transitions and climate targets. But at the end of the day, when the country needs fuel, it looks west. And right now, the West is sending a very clear message. Enough is enough. Behind the scenes, reports suggest a series of tense exchanges between Carney's team and Alberta officials. Some claim letters were exchanged that left no room for compromise. Others hint at late-night phone calls where voices were raised and ultimatums delivered. Nothing has been confirmed, but the smoke is too thick to ignore. And think about what shutting the pipelines would mean beyond Canada. Just south of the border, U.S. President Donald Trump has made no secret of his energy ambitions. He wants cheap oil, reliable imports, and leverage over his rivals abroad. But if Alberta actually decides to choke supply, it won't just be Ottawa scrambling. Washington will feel the heat, too. Trump has built his political brand on dominance, on never being outplayed. Would he really sit back and watch Canada's internal fight disrupt his grand energy strategy? Or would he step in, putting pressure on Carney, or even cozying up to Danielle Smith herself? That's where the suspense deepens. Because Alberta's move, if it happens, wouldn't just be economic, it would be geopolitical. Suddenly, Alberta isn't just a province negotiating with Ottawa. It becomes a player in an international game, with Trump eyeing every move and Carney trapped in a corner. Now, let's consider the mood in Alberta itself. For months, maybe even years, frustration has been boiling over. The sense of being ignored, of carrying the country's economy while being lectured about how to run their own resources. Premier Danielle Smith has been walking a fine line, defending her province, but also calculating how far she can push. And now? Now it feels like she's ready to test Ottawa in the most direct way possible. But here's the suspenseful part. Nobody knows what comes next. Because shutting pipelines is not like flipping a switch. It's a move that carries massive consequences legally, economically, politically. Ottawa could retaliate, courts could intervene, companies could sue, and international allies could start calling in the middle of the night. That's how high the stakes are. Some insiders are saying Carney's government is already wargaming scenarios, preparing for the fallout if Alberta pulls the trigger. Imagine federal emergency meetings, ministers arguing behind closed doors, charts showing collapsing revenues, warnings about rising fuel prices across the country. Imagine the panic in Ottawa if suddenly the capital realized it couldn't control the flow of the country's most critical resource. And then there's the public. Canadians in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, how would they react if they woke up tomorrow and heard Alberta was cutting supply? Gas prices soaring, heating bills spiking, industries slowing down. The anger wouldn't just be aimed at Alberta. It would be aimed at Ottawa for letting it get this far. And that might be exactly what Danielle Smith is counting on. Think about the psychology of it. If Smith shuts the pipelines, she forces Canadians to confront a reality they've long ignored. Without Alberta, the system doesn't work. And if that reality turns public opinion against Carney, then Alberta wins the political war, even before any courtroom battle begins. But wait, here's where the suspense gets even sharper. What if this isn't just about leverage? What if this is the first step in something bigger? Remember, Alberta has been flirting with ideas of independence for years. Not openly declaring it, not making it official, but letting the idea simmer. A pipeline shutdown could be the spark that ignites that fire, the moment where people stop asking if Alberta might leave and start asking when. Ottawa knows this. Washington knows this. And you can bet markets around the world are watching this closely. Investors hate uncertainty, and right now, Alberta is creating the ultimate uncertainty. If the pipelines slow down, global markets react instantly. Prices rise, rivals like Russia or Saudi Arabia suddenly get an edge, and the entire balance of power and energy shifts. That's why this isn't just a Canadian story, it's global. And yet, here we are, with no official confirmation, only mounting speculation. The denials sound half-hearted, the reassurances feel shaky, and every time Danielle Smith speaks, people parse her words for hidden meaning. Did she just hint at it? Did she just issue a veiled threat? Or is this all part of a bigger strategy to keep Ottawa guessing? One thing is certain, Prime Minister Carney cannot afford to look weak. His leadership is on the line. If Alberta shows it can dictate terms by threatening a shutdown, what message does that send to the rest of the country? What message does it send to Saskatchewan, to British Columbia, to any province feeling overlooked? The entire federation could start to wobble. And here's the chilling thought. Maybe that's exactly the point. Maybe this isn't just Alberta versus Ottawa. Maybe this is the opening move in a broader Western push to rewrite the very rules of Confederation. But let's take this from another angle, one most Canadians haven't even begun to think about. It's not just Ottawa that would feel the pressure if Alberta shuts its pipelines, it's the other provinces too. Imagine Quebec, a province that's long been able to dictate terms politically, suddenly realizing that its fuel supply is vulnerable. Or Ontario, the so-called industrial heart of Canada, waking up to find that factories can't run at full tilt because energy prices are spiraling. The ripple effects could pit province against province in a way we haven't seen in decades. And here's the quiet truth no politician dares to admit. Alberta has the kind of leverage no other province can claim. Food, lumber, even tech industries, they're important, yes. But energy? Energy is survival. Cut off that supply and everything else grinds to a halt. That's why insiders are whispering that some premiers outside the West are already picking up the phone, urging Carney not just to talk, but to act. Because if Alberta follows through, they'll be the first to pay the price. Now picture the business world. CEOs in Toronto, financiers in Montreal, even investors on Wall Street, they all live and die by stability. They don't want surprises. And yet, Alberta has created the ultimate uncertainty. There are rumors of quiet emergency meetings in boardrooms, executives pressing Ottawa for guarantees, banks quietly reassessing their exposure. If Alberta holds its ground, billions in capital could start fleeing, not just from Alberta but from Canada as a whole. Imagine that pressure on Carney, not just political, but economic, financial, global. And then, of course, there's Trump. Washington has always treated Canada's energy as a backstop, a reliable friend across the border. But reliability is exactly what's at stake now. If Alberta decides it can't play by Ottawa's rules anymore, Trump has choices to make. Does he threaten tariffs? Does he bypass Ottawa entirely and negotiate directly with Danielle Smith, effectively recognizing Alberta as an independent energy partner? Think about the message that would send. Carney could be left sidelined in his own country, while Trump and Smith hammer out terms that affect every Canadian household. And don't underestimate Trump's appetite for drama. He thrives on chaos. A Canada divided is a Canada he can pressure, a Canada he can reshape to his advantage. So today, Canadians are left holding their breath. Is Alberta truly ready to shut the pipelines? Is Ottawa really in panic mode behind the scenes? Is Trump waiting in the wings, ready to seize an opportunity? Or is all of this smoke without fire, a masterclass in political theater designed to keep everyone on edge? We may not have the answers yet. But one thing is undeniable. The stakes have never been higher. Every passing hour without clarity adds to the tension. Every statement from Edmonton or Ottawa raises more questions than answers. And as Canadians, as North Americans, we are standing on the edge of a cliff, wondering if Alberta is about to push us all into the unknown. Because if those pipelines really do shut down, nothing will ever be the same again.